Have you ever been called stubborn, difficult, maybe even a little defiant just because you really don't like being told what to do? If you've ever felt kind of misunderstood for that gut reaction you get against taking orders, well, you are in exactly the right place. We're about to look at that feeling in a whole new light.
I mean, really think about it for a second. When someone gives you a direct command, what's that first immediate thought that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's not, okay, on it. It's a pause. It's this moment of internal resistance that can be super frustrating for you and the person asking. But what if that reaction isn't a character flaw? What if it's a sign of something else entirely? Okay, so let's just get one thing straight. Right here, right now. You are not difficult or stubborn for feeling this way. This is such a fundamental shift in perspective. It's not about you just wanting to be oppositional. It's about how your brain is literally wired to process information.
So if we're not going to call it stubbornness, what do we call it? Well, psychology actually has a much more accurate and honestly way more empowering term for it: a high need for autonomy. Let's dive into what that really means.
A high need for autonomy isn't some kind of disorder to be fixed. It's a trait, just like being an introvert or an extrovert. At its core, it's this deep desire to be in the driver's seat of your own life. You know, you crave independence, you want to direct yourself, and you absolutely thrive when you feel like you have control over your own choices and actions. So what is actually happening inside your head when you get an order? Why does it cause that friction? Well, the answer is in the core mechanism behind this need for autonomy. And you know, it's not really about emotion, it's all about cognition. See, that resistance you feel, it isn't defiance just for the sake of it. Your brain has a very specific, totally non-negotiable requirement before it can fully get on board with a task. It needs to perform something called independent cognitive reasoning. So what does that mean? It means you don't just take an order at face value. Your mind has to process it, it has to understand the why, and it has to agree with the logic internally. Think of it like a little security checkpoint in your brain. An order arrives, right? But it can't get through the action center until it shows a valid logical ID that you've personally approved.
So the whole process is actually pretty simple. You can break it down into 3 steps. First, the command comes in. But instead of just acting, your brain hits the pause button and demands to see the logic. It's asking, why are we doing this? Does this actually make sense? And only after that internal logic check is complete and you've given it the green light, do you finally move to action.
Now, understanding this mechanism is the absolute key to unlocking your own motivation. If your brain runs on logic, then how you're asked to do something becomes just as important as what you're asked to do. And that brings us to this critical difference between pressure and choice.
The driving force behind this entire thing is a really powerful psychological concept: an internal locus of control. It's the reason why some approaches get you fired up and ready to go, and others, well, they just make you want to dig your heels in.
In a nutshell, this just means you believe that you are the one who makes things happen. Your successes, your failures, they come from your own efforts and decisions. You are the author of your own story. So when someone comes along and tries to dictate your actions, it directly clashes with this deep-seated core belief. This visualizes the whole motivational equation perfectly. On one side, you have pressure and external demands. Those feel like a threat to your control, and boom, they trigger resistance. But on the other side, you have choice. Choice empowers your internal logic. It validates your autonomy, and it completely ignites your drive to act. So where does all of this leave us? We've given the old label a new name, we've understood the mental machinery, and we've uncovered what truly motivates you. Now it's time to put it all together and reframe this trait not as a weakness, but as the unique and powerful strength it really is. I mean, just look at these strengths. Your need for logic makes you a fantastic problem solver. Your desire for self-direction makes you incredibly independent and internally motivated. And that resistance to orders, well, that also makes you amazingly resistant to manipulation and peer pressure. These are your superpowers.
Here's the bottom line. Your high need for autonomy is not a bug, it's a feature. It is not some character flaw that you need to suppress, it's a cognitive strength. And once you really understand it, you can start using it to your advantage in your job, in your relationships, in your entire life.
So I'll just leave you with this question. Now that you have a new name and a whole new understanding for this part of yourself, how are you going to communicate your needs to others? How will you set up your work and your life to not just deal with, but to truly honor your autonomous mind and leverage all of its incredible strengths? The power, as it always has been,
is in your hand.